Have you ever heard a question that sounded harmless, but deep inside something told you it wasn't right? A soft tone, an innocent smile. And yet, the moment you replied, you realized you had just stepped into a game you could never win. This is the craft of the deceiver. They don't just lie with words, they deceive with questions. And if you can't see through the disguise, you'll find yourself doubting your own mind, apologizing for things you never did, until you start battling yourself instead of them. The ancient Romans understood this deeply. Seneca, Epictetus, Marcus Aurelius, they cautioned us. A liar rarely strikes directly. They sow tiny seeds of doubt and then wait patiently for you to destroy yourself. 2,000 years later, the tactic remains unchanged. It's simply become more refined. In today's video, we'll examine the 5 most dangerous questions deceivers use to manipulate and dominate you. More importantly, I'll show you how the Stoics would reply, calmly, clearly, unshakably. And by the end, you'll have the tools to ensure you'll never be anyone's pawn again. So stay until the end. And if you gain value from this, consider subscribing, not for me but for yourself, so you never miss another lesson that could sharpen your intellect and fortify your spirit. Question 1. Why are you being so sensitive? At first, it sounds gentle, almost caring, but don't be deceived. This is the very first bullet fired by the gaslighter. Hidden inside that question isn't curiosity, it's accusation. What they're truly saying is, you're weak. You're imagining things. The issue isn't me, it's you. Pause for a moment. Reflect. Have you ever been in a relationship where the instant you pointed out something wrong, you were dismissed with a laugh? Oh, you're just too sensitive. Or maybe at work, you question the ethics of a decision only to hear, don't overreact, it's just business. That's not compassion, that's a weapon. What they're attempting to do is disarm your greatest defense, your awareness. They want to twist your sensitivity, which is really a radar for danger, into a flaw. Seneca once wrote, "We suffer more in imagination than in reality." Manipulators understand this. They plant seeds of doubt until you start believing you're the problem. But here's the truth. Sensitivity is not weakness, it's perception. The person who feels deeply often notices the cracks long before anyone else. Think of the financial analyst who spots minor inconsistencies in the books, mocked as paranoid, but later exposing a multi-million-dollar fraud. Or a wife who senses a subtle change in her husband's behavior, dismissed as overreacting only to uncover betrayal months later. In both cases, sensitivity wasn't a curse, it was the early warning system. So, what would a Stoic do? Marcus Aurelius once said, "If someone can prove me wrong and show me my mistake, I will gladly change. For it is truth that I seek, not victory." A person who truly values you will never shame your awareness. Only those hiding something fear your perception. So next time someone says, "Why are you so sensitive?" don't get angry. Don't defend. Simply look at them and calmly reply, "I'm not being sensitive, I'm being observant." One sentence, and you'll watch the mask begin to crack. Question 2. You trust me, right? It sounds gentle, even loving. But beneath the surface, it's not a question, it's a trap. Because anyone who demands trust instead of earning it has already shown their intent. A trustworthy person never needs to beg for faith, their actions prove it daily. But when someone looks you in the eye and says, "You trust me, right?" what they're really saying is, don't think. Don't question. Just surrender your judgment. Epictetus warned, "It is impossible for a man to learn what he believes he already knows." Liars understand this well. They use that question to silence your curiosity, to make you feel guilty for being careful, to convince you that asking for proof makes you disloyal. But caution isn't betrayal, caution is wisdom. Think of the business partner who hides the numbers but says, "Trust me." Or the lover who hides their phone yet insists, "Don't you trust me?" That's not building trust, that's demanding blindness. A Stoic responds not with panic but with composure, apatheia, the discipline of not letting emotion overpower reason. When faced with, "You trust me, right?" Pause, breathe, and say, "Trust is earned through consistency. Are you asking me to ignore my judgment?" That single line shifts the entire frame. The liar will fumble, deflect, or lash out. But a person of integrity will simply keep showing you through actions that they are trustworthy. Question 3. Are you accusing me of something? This one is cunning. It looks like a simple question, but it's actually a shield, a way to flip the focus and put you on trial. You raise a concern, ask a question, and instead of answers, you get, "Are you accusing me?" Suddenly you're the villain. The focus shifts from their behavior to your supposed offense. You rush to clarify, to defend, and in that instant, your power evaporates. Marcus Aurelius wrote, "The best answer to anger is silence." But silence doesn't mean surrender, it means refusing to play their game. When someone snaps, "Are you accusing me?" Stay still. Hold eye contact. Wait a few seconds, then calmly say, "Should I be?" Just 3 words, and the illusion crumbles. Liars expect panic. They never expect composure. Question 4. Would I ever lie to you? This question is poison-coated in silk. It sounds tender, almost hurt. But ask yourself, why would someone even need to say this, unless you're close to the truth? "Would I ever lie to you?" isn't sincerity, it's theater. It's performance. The goal is to make them look noble and you look cruel for doubting. They don't seek honesty, they seek guilt. Because if you feel guilty for doubting, you stop questioning. But Stoicism teaches, truth is never offended by scrutiny. Seneca wrote, "If it's not true, don't say it. If it's not right, don't do it." A person of integrity doesn't need to convince you they're honest. Their behavior speaks quietly and consistently. So, when someone asks, "Would I ever lie to you?" pause and say, "That's not the question. The question is, would I know if you did?" That's how you turn the light on, and shadows vanish. Question 5. Can't we just move on? This is the liar's final play, the exhaustion card. When denial and distraction fail, they appeal to fatigue. "Can't we just move on?" sounds peaceful, but it's really escape disguised as healing. What they mean is, "I don't want accountability. I just want you too tired to keep asking." Marcus Aurelius wrote, "If it is not right, do not do it. If it is not true, do not say it." Truth doesn't expire because someone is uncomfortable. Real closure only comes after clarity. So when someone says, "Can't we just move on?" breathe and reply, "I'll move on when I understand what happened, not before." That simple sentence anchors you in truth. Liars fear that, because when you refuse to be rushed, their game collapses. Stoic thinking to resist manipulation. Deceivers thrive on emotion. They don't need logic, only your reaction. They'll guilt you for questioning, shame you for noticing, and wear you down until exhaustion feels like peace. But Stoicism gives you armor. Epictetus taught, "Some things are in our control, others are not." When you know the difference, no one can enslave your mind. When they guilt-trip you, remember, their emotions aren't your responsibility. When they mock your awareness, remember, perception is strength, not fragility. When they rush you to forget, remember, truth has no deadline. The Stoic doesn't move at the liar's speed. He observes, breathes, and chooses his reply with precision, as if holding the sword of reason steady in chaos. Imagine standing in a storm, wind howls, thunder rages, yet you remain still. That's Stoic mastery. Calm when others crumble. Clear when others are clouded. Because here's the secret manipulators never expect. Their greatest weapon only works if you react. Take that away, and their weapon shatters. Conclusion. You now understand the 5 questions deceivers use to manipulate. Each one is a move, but you're no longer a pawn. You are the player. The Stoic doesn't shout or rage. He sits steady, sees truth clearly, and lets the liar expose themselves. Seneca, Epictetus, Marcus Aurelius, they all taught the same lesson. The man who sees clearly cannot be controlled. So remember, you are not cruel for having boundaries. You are not harsh for seeking truth. You are not weak for noticing deceit. You are awake. And in a world of shadows, the awake are feared. Choose clarity. Choose reason. Walk as a Stoic warrior, calm, observant, unshakable. If this message speaks to you, tap like, subscribe to Agoraphobic Being, and share it with someone who needs it. And in the comments, write just 3 words. I choose clarity.